Welcome to today's Explainer. Right now, we're embarking on a very rigorous, highly analytical examination of a phenomenon that literally plagues the modern human condition. I'm talking about the profound existential despair induced by public service utilities. We call this sociocultural study Bureaucratic Bedlam, the Utility Outage Chronicles. Throughout human history, mankind has faced famine, war, plague, but honestly, perhaps absolutely nothing tests the limits of our psychological endurance quite like sitting in the pitch dark, listening to the hum of a refrigerator slowly dying, all while clutching a freshly printed, totally exorbitant electricity bill. It's just a universal, agonizing frustration, and today we're going to dissect exactly how this shared societal trauma has been transformed into a masterful comedic art form. Okay, let's dive right into this. We've got a stark, almost poetic juxtaposition of two conflicting realities here. On one hand, we have 30 days of bills. That is an immutable, undeniable administrative truth. On the other hand, 12 days of light, a fleeting, highly unreliable physical reality. I really want you to just sit with the profound mathematical and moral disconnect between those two phrases for a second. We aren't going to fully unpack the joke just yet, but this paradox, this very specific, incredibly maddening equation, actually serves as the foundational conflict for the entire narrative we're exploring today. It acts as the ultimate hook for a grievance that every single one of us has felt deep down in our bones. 12. Seriously, just think about that number. In a standard billing cycle, humanity has kind of mutually agreed upon the concept of roughly 30 days, right? You pay your hard-earned money with the implicit, sacred understanding that a service is going to be rendered for those 30 days. Yet the empirical data we're looking at reduces that expected yield to a mere 12? 12 days. It taps into this primal, deeply relatable connection for all of us. I mean, it's the absolute absurdity of subsidizing a void. You are literally financing the darkness in your own living room. This isn't just an inconvenience, folks. From a sociological standpoint, it is a massive breach of the social contract. And, as you'll see, it is the absolute perfect recipe for a spectacular, perfectly justified psychological meltdown. Moving into Section 1, Frustrations with Public Services. So, the crucial point is how this genre functions at a structural level. We really need to define satire in this highly specific context. You see, here, satire isn't merely poking fun. Oh no, it is the alchemical process of taking the raw, unadulterated bureaucratic rage of the common citizen. The exact kind of rage generated by endless hold music and totally unannounced power cuts, and transmuting it into a sharp, performative critique. It's basically a high art form of a coping mechanism. By exaggerating the sheer incompetence of utility companies and these public service outages, the creators aren't just trying to make us laugh. They're actually providing a necessary psychological release valve for a population that feels held hostage by its own failing infrastructure. It's honestly brilliant. That brings us to Section 2, the mistaken identity premise. Let's move on and see how this comedic engine builds across two really critical steps. Step 1 initiates the inciting incident, mistaking a perfectly innocent random neighbor for an official from the water or electric company. Notice the sheer elegance of this setup. The neighbor represents a blank canvas. They're an unsuspecting proxy for the faceless, unfeeling utility monolith. Then, bam, we hit Step 2, launching into an uninterrupted, incredibly long, comedic rant about service outages and bills. Because the official is actually just a neighbor trying to go about their day, the comedic conflict is instantly dialed up to 11. The sheer misdirection of this wrath takes your standard, everyday complaint and elevates it into a piece of pure theatrical absurdity. The neighbor is trapped, the protagonist is fully unleashed, and we, the viewers, are treated to an absolute masterclass in misplaced aggression. Let's look at Section 3, the Basha character archetype. Now, what's really interesting here is how perfectly calibrated these specific traits are for maximizing that comedic tension. We're looking at the Basha archetype. First off, they are deeply authoritative. They demand respect and totally expect things to function in an orderly, proper fashion. Second, they are easily frustrated. Their threshold for bureaucratic incompetence is practically zero. And third, they are an elder, carrying the historical weight of someone who actually remembers a time when things ostensibly worked. So why is an easily frustrated elder the perfect vessel for this specific type of comedy? Well, because when an elder scolds you, there's this innate societal pressure to just stand there and take it. The poor neighbor, totally trapped in this mistaken identity, can't simply walk away from a commanding, irate senior citizen. The Basha's age and authority give the whole rant this glorious, unstoppable momentum. Which leads us to Section 4, demanding bureaucratic accountability.
And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer, unadulterated genius of the sketch's climax. 30 days of bills, but 12 days of light. We're returning to our initial mathematical paradox here, but now it is fully weaponized. Delivered by the furious, authoritative Basha character directly into the face of a completely bewildered neighbor, this quote is the ultimate emotional payoff. It's practically a rallying cry for every single citizen who has ever sat in a sweltering, unair-conditioned room while holding a final notice from the electric company. The Basha isn't just complaining anymore, they are demanding answers for this agonizing disparity. They're demanding a fundamental balancing of the universe's scales. And the humor works so flawlessly because the demand is so intensely righteous, even if the target of the rant is completely, hilariously wrong.
Which leaves us staring at a rather profound inquiry to wrap up. When public utilities fail, when the lights go out and the taps run completely dry, who is truly held accountable? Is it the faceless administrators, the absent executives, or, in our sheer desperation, does it just become the unfortunate neighbor who simply happened to wear a somewhat official-looking shirt on the wrong Tuesday? You know, while we laugh at the sheer absurdity of the Basha character's misplaced rage, the underlying void of accountability remains a stark, totally unresolved reality of modern civic life. The sketch provides the catharsis, for sure, but the question still hangs in the air, much like the lingering darkness of a 12-day power outage. Thank you so much for joining me in analyzing this brilliant piece of socio-comedic art in today's Explainer. Until next time, keep your flashlights handy and try not to yell at your neighbors.